A dangerous and deeply unsettling battle just erupted near Nigeria's northern border, a clash so intense that it shook entire communities and once again reminded the nation how fragile peace remains in parts of the Lake Chad region. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, when most people were just waking up to begin their day, rival armed factions collided in a brutal power struggle near the Niger border in Borno State. This was not a random skirmish. It was a calculated confrontation between two deadly extremist groups, fighters linked to the Islamic State West Africa province, widely known as ISWAP, and militants from the Bukura faction loyal to Abu Umaima. Both sides reportedly poured fighters and weapons into the battlefield, turning the area into a volatile flashpoint for several tense hours. Security sources revealed that the fighting began at about 6 a.m. around Dogon Chiku Buhari village, a border settlement in Abadam Local Government Area, barely 1 kilometer from the Niger Republic boundary. What started as an early morning assault quickly escalated into a prolonged exchange that stretched until approximately 10:15 a.m., nearly 4 hours of non-stop confrontation. Residents and security observers say the Bukura fighters, believed to operate from settlements across the Niger Republic side of the Lake Chad Basin, launched a coordinated attack against ISWAP elements stationed on Nigerian soil. The clash unfolded close to strategic routes linking Tubum Mota, Bosso, and Diffa, corridors that armed groups have historically used to move fighters, supplies, and reinforcements across borders with relative ease. A respected security analyst and counterinsurgency expert, Zagozola Mokoma, citing multiple security sources, confirmed that the engagement was fierce and sustained. According to those sources, both factions deployed significant manpower and weapons in a determined struggle for territorial control. The objective was clear: dominate strategic ground, weaken rivals, and assert supremacy in a region that has long been contested by extremist groups. By the time the dust began to settle, reports indicated that dozens of fighters had been lost on both sides. While exact figures remain unconfirmed due to the remote terrain and security restrictions, the scale of the confrontation alone signals how intense and organized the clash had become. Dogon Chiku Buhari lies east of Tubum Mota village and not far from Malam Factory, an area that has repeatedly surfaced in security briefings due to its proximity to international borders and its strategic importance within the Lake Chad Basin. This region continues to attract armed groups because of its vast terrain, difficult access for conventional security patrols, and the ease with which fighters can cross national boundaries when pressure increases. Observers believe the renewed violence stems from long-standing rivalries inside the extremist ecosystem operating around Lake Chad. Over the years, ISWAP has attempted to expand its influence by absorbing or neutralizing smaller factions in order to consolidate authority. However, the Bukura faction loyal to Abu Umaima has consistently resisted submission, relying heavily on cross-border mobility, local alliances, and deep knowledge of the terrain to sustain its operations and remain independent. This ongoing rivalry has repeatedly sparked violent confrontations as both groups compete for control of routes, recruitment networks, and influence over vulnerable communities scattered across border regions. Security analysts continue to warn that the porous nature of the Niger border remains a major obstacle in counter-terrorism operations. Fighters are able to retreat, regroup, and reposition across borders when under pressure, making it difficult for security forces and regional task forces to maintain sustained dominance. The vastness of the terrain, limited surveillance coverage, and logistical challenges further complicate long-term stabilization efforts. Each clash, like this one near Abadam, carries ripple effects far beyond the battlefield. Border communities remain on edge. Farmers hesitate to return to their fields. Traders fear using major routes. Families worry about displacement and safety. Every new confrontation deepens anxiety and prolongs instability in an already fragile region. While security agencies continue monitoring the situation closely, many questions remain unanswered. Will this clash escalate into another wave of retaliatory attacks? Will civilians be forced to flee once again? Can regional cooperation tighten border control enough to prevent armed groups from exploiting the terrain? What remains certain is that the struggle for territorial dominance in the Lake Chad Basin is far from over, and every new confrontation serves as a sobering reminder of the complex security challenges facing Nigeria and its neighbors. As the dust settles from this latest clash, the nation watches closely, hoping that stability can eventually replace cycles of conflict, and that communities caught in the middle can finally experience lasting peace.